and boom, the word comes that she's got a stress fracture and that she's got a cast on her leg and that she's out.
Michelle is sort of a fish out of water if she's not on the ice. I think that when she had that cast on and she was told not to skate for 5 weeks, that she didn't know what to do with herself. I think knowing that the Olympic trials were coming up, you're in a cast and you can't get on the ice, it was sort of one of those nightmares that you have and you can't seem to wake yourself up out of it.
When she finally got off the cast, the first time she got out there and skated, she burst into tears and came back to me and said, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. I can't put any weight on it. I'm weak, and I don't think this is going to work.
Ready or not, she arrived in Philadelphia in January for the Olympic trials.
I went to Philadelphia, just no expectations. I let loose and just had fun.
And I think you really saw the joy of Michelle come through. She was just alive. She was like floating over the ice. She wasn't skating on the ice. She was floating. And you could tell she loved this program. You could tell it was just a part of her. And she brought the house down.
I think there's just a quality there of completeness and openness and welcomingness to her skating. And that's a quality I haven't seen too often.
It all came from the heart, and that was the one thing that everybody strives to do, is just to skate from the heart.
Michelle was on top of her sport again. Tara Lipinski finished a distant second. Michelle was heading for the Nagano Olympics as the odds-on favorite.
Well, I was glad that I had the time in between nationals and the Olympics to get myself prepared as best as I could. And I still had pain in my left foot and my stress fracture, and it didn't heal 100%.
The pressure on an Olympic favorite is enormous, but it was nothing compared to the pressure Michelle was putting on herself to realize her dream.
It was either win or die. And I had that mentality going into the Olympics, and I was like, I gotta win, I gotta win, I gotta win.
The Olympics are just so different. It's a very different competition, and the pressure is enormous. And going there as the favorite is even more so.
I remember her asking me questions about what it was like to win the Olympics. What was it like, you know, and she never asked me that kind of stuff.
In Nagano, her focus was total. Michelle won the short program. Tara Lipinski was second. Michelle was one performance away from Olympic gold.
How could I describe the Olympics? You work and you visualize every single moment that you're going to be at the Olympics. And that day comes. It's just unbelievable. You step into the rink, and the first time I skated over the Olympic rings, I think I started crying. It's so emotional because you just, you visualize every second that you're there and you're skating and performing, and then here it is. It's like the stage is set.
My experience with Michelle at the Olympics are a very, very important thing to her, to the point that she almost tightens up when the time comes because she probably wants it so bad. I felt Michelle was tight that night before she took the ice.
She was nervous, but her willpower was astonishing. Under the greatest pressure of her young life, 17-year-old Michelle Kwan was simply perfect.
I just remember it coming off the ice. I was crying. I just was overwhelmed. And I guess the emotions that were going through my mind and my body was sense of release, sense of I tried so hard to be in the best shape of my life. Didn't make any mistakes. I did this. I did everything I possibly can. And it all happened.
Well, after she skated, I thought she won, thank God, she won. Whew, you know, like a big sigh of relief. Then Tara came on. Tara's moment happened to be that night as well. And it's almost like if you were to rewrite the history books, it's like two performances like that shouldn't have happened in one night. But they did.
It was a solid performance. She would have won a lot of other Olympics, and it'll be debated, because they were both good performances, but it was Tara's night. It was just a great rivalry that went Tara's way.
Everybody works hard. Everybody wants to win, but there's only one spot.
It was one of the more remarkable human efforts for Michelle Kwan to handle herself as she did in Nagano the moments after she had not won the gold and the press conference occurred. There she is, her eyes are still puffy from having cried, and Tara Lipinski is in this giddy dream world that you can only imagine. This kid has just won the Olympic gold medal and no one can believe it. And she handled herself very well, Tara did. But the rivalry question came up very quickly. What do you two think of the other? And Tara giddily said, I didn't watch Michelle skate, but I know she did great. And, Tara just gave it the answer you would expect from a teenager who's in some other world. And Michelle Kwan took the microphone and very quietly paused for a moment and then said, Tara, I like you.
Michelle called from Japan probably about 30 minutes after the results and everything. And I remember the sound of her voice, and gosh, that was so tough. I think that was probably one of the hardest moments that I have, because she wanted it so badly, and I know that she had skated her heart out.
Getting the silver was tough, because I thought, how could I do? My dream was to win. My dream was to win the gold. Not the silver. I want to get the gold. And I just realized when I got silver, life is just as good winning the silver. It doesn't make me a better person if I had won the gold. It doesn't make me any different. It's just medal.
Ironically, finishing second at Nagano seemed to make Michelle Kwan even more popular with the public. The next month, Tara Lipinski retired, while Michelle went on to the 98 Worlds and captured her second world title. At only 17, another Olympic bid was physically possible. It was a question of motivation.
After the Olympics, I think it took a while for her to get back on her feet. It was just a very, very emotional time for her. It took her probably a year or two to start feeling like she could do it.
Michelle was a competitor at heart, and she would keep on competing. She would stay in for another 4 years, but she would do it on her own terms. So just months after Nagano, she made an unusual decision for a skating champion. She was going to go to college. She enrolled at UCLA in the fall of 1999.
I just decided I want to experience going to school, being in the dorms, just that whole atmosphere. And it was incredible because it made me realize, skating is so small. They just like, oh yeah, are you still competing? Are you still doing that kind of little thing, that little sport you're doing? And it put everything in perspective.
Michelle won the 1999 U.S. title and finished second at Worlds. But even that minor misstep led some in the skating world to question whether she still had a champion's medal. She would answer her critics at the 2000 Worlds in Nice.
I just remember the talk that, Michelle, she should just hang up her skates and turn professional. But I felt in my heart that I could still win. I had worked really, really hard. And just watching the tapes, I remember I had this look in my eyes and just like fierce, look, it was actually not attractive, but I was like, just as if I was holding like I don't know, like an arrow or something that I was going to toss. I was like, attack was my word.
She attacked again the next year in Vancouver, winning an incredible 4th world title and setting herself up for her second Olympic bid. At 21, she would enter the Salt Lake City Olympics in her home country as the reigning world champion. Then, 4 months before Salt Lake, Kwan made a shocking announcement. After 10 years, she was leaving coach Frank Carroll and would compete at the Olympics without a coach.